Let's welcome in our good friend Jerry Hill. Thanks for being with us. We had your spot reserved here, but thanks for connecting with us.
I apologize. I got tied up a little bit after Bible study and couldn't make it over there. Not that I forgot about you, but you know.
You're a busy man. You're much in demand. I understand. Yeah. Thanks for being with us. Pretty good. Nice blurred black background behind you. We were talking about baseball. That was a rough one last night, wasn't it? 13-3 loss to Kansas State.
Yeah, and the thing about it is, John, it's a 6-3 game going into, I think it was the 7th inning, and that was when they gave up 7 runs. You know, you just hate to get run ruled anytime, but particularly at home. So, and that's 2 out of the last 3 games that they've been run ruled at home. So, yeah, it was a rough one last night. But like I said, you were right there until the 7th inning, and it was a little bit similar to what game was that? Was that the Sunday game where you're right there, and then all of a sudden it just kind of gets away from you? So. You know, some of that's pitching depth, and and midweeks are tough when you don't have that kind of pitching depth. So hopefully they can get it turned around this weekend when they go to Stillwater.
That's true, and they've got some guys that are banged up and nothing really serious. I mean, easy for me to say, but they've got some guys that just aren't available right now, and several of those are pitchers, and that's where you really feel it, like who's available for a midweek game.
Yeah, and then, you know, you've got Lucas Davenport still on a pitch count, and Stefan Stahl has been out. I mean, those are key people that you really need to get, you know, going or get back. And so, yeah, I think that definitely hurts you. And like you said, particularly for a midweek game when you're just struggling to find, you know, who are we putting in next, that kind of thing.
Right. True. All right. 13-3 loss. Bears go to Stillwater to play Oklahoma State. 3-game series this weekend. It's a big series, and you wonder what Oklahoma State team will show up there. They're at home. They got swept by UCF last weekend. Baylor lost 2 of 3 to West Virginia last weekend. Right. This is a really kind of a key early in the conference season series.
Yeah, first one on the road, and John, I mean, I think going into it, not that Baylor would have taken it, but you know, going 1-2 against West Virginia wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, they're a ranked team, they're the defending conference champion, and it's first time you'd beaten them, I think, since like 21 or something like that. So, you know, that just getting that win, but I think it was just the way the series ended, you know, getting run ruled on Saturday, then shut out on Sunday. So just, it was a rough stretch there, but yeah, I think if you can bounce back and, you know, win 1, win 2 in Stillwater, and then you get Houston the next week and then BYU. So you've got a stretch here where you can maybe make some hay, but you got to get it done.
All right, in softball, interesting out-of-conference weekend ahead. They're playing Texas, the number 2 team in the country, in Austin on Friday night, in Waco. It's sold out to Getterman Stadium on Saturday.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to the way they used to do the conference series. You know, sometimes it would be like 1 down there and then 2 here, or vice versa. So, you know, that's kind of like old scheduling, but yeah, and getting them in a non-conference, you know, I don't know if this was a bye week in conference, and it seems like there's a lot of teams playing non-conference teams this weekend, so might have been, but I think it's great. I mean, obviously Texas is, you know, one of the premier teams in the country, you know, have been to the World Series. So yeah, I think it's a great test for this team. Off to their, you know, best start in conference. I think I had read, John, since like 2017. So It's been a while. They've had a 5-1 start to conference play. And I think, you know, going on the road and taking 2 from UCF, I think that was huge. And that was after losing the first one when you actually out-hit them. So I thought the pitching held up really well this weekend against UCF, and see how they do this week against Texas. And I guess you can look at it 2 ways. I mean, it doesn't hurt you in the conference race. And you do get tested against one of the elite teams in the country. How do we stack up? You know, what do we need to do from here? So I'm not saying it doesn't hurt you, but it doesn't hurt you in conference at least.
Yeah. And Texas, number 2 team in the nation, the defending national champions. I mean, it's a great RPI building couple of games there for Baylor also. So that'll be fun to see. And I like how Glenn has continued the series or games, at least with Texas, and they'll play Texas A&M coming up later in the season. I think that's great that he continues those series.
And I'm of the opinion that, pretty much all the sports should be playing the in-state schools. I know some of them have had an issue with, the ones that have gone to the SEC or whatever, but when they're right down the road like that, Texas and A&M both, less than 2 hours away, an hour and a half away. So I think it just makes really good sense to play them when you can, because I think probably across the board it helps you in I would say in every sport, it helps you RPI wise. So it just makes sense when you do that instead of, traveling 2 time zones to play somebody else.
That's exactly right. We were talking earlier about K-State and baseball.
Yeah.
They in Manhattan, they have trouble scheduling midweek games. Sure. There's nobody around them, or there's very few opportunities around them. I mean, they'd kill to be within 90 miles of a Texas or a Texas A&M or something like that. So it makes a lot of sense, and that'll be fun. Getterman Stadium is sold out for the Saturday game, but Glenn said, hey, check and see. There may be some tickets available. We want to make sure it's not only sold out, but every seat is filled, because and you remember how well those Texas fans travel up here. Oh, yeah, they do. And John, I had looked for somebody, a ticket for somebody else, and I think you could find them on, I don't remember if it was Ticketmaster or what, but it was like $450. Are you serious? For a ticket to a Baylor softball game. Wow. So they are in high demand, apparently. Yeah. So that's incredible, though. That's great, though, that they're going to sell it out and it'll be a packed stadium. Yeah, that'll be fun. So that's softball this week, home and home with the defending national champion Texas team. How about basketball? The women leaving this morning, headed for Durham, North Carolina. Yeah. We'll find out tonight. Richmond and Nebraska play tonight, find out their first round opponent. Is this the second year in a row or the second time in 3 years that they don't know their first round opponent until a play-in game? Second time in 3 years. So when they went to Blacksburg 2 years ago, when they played Virginia Tech in the second round, they had to wait. And I think it was maybe Vanderbilt that they wound up playing. But yeah, it was same type of deal. So yeah, it's different. I mean, but I think Nikki made this, point the other day was, it's not like Nebraska and Richmond can really spend a lot of time on Baylor, so it's not like they have extra time really, because they had to focus strictly on this game just to get through this game. So I think the only thing that helps them is that they're playing. I wasn't even sure if this was the case, but they are playing they're playing there in Cameron Indoor. So that helps them in the sense that they'll already have a game under their belt in that arena. Right. But that's really the only advantage. But John, when I looked at the bracket, I thought it was actually pretty good. Now granted, Duke's going to be highly motivated if you get to that point because you beat them at the beginning of the year. But again, it's a team that you've been on the court with. You know them. I think they had a bench player that wasn't there available for that game. And I think I'd seen where she's averaging maybe 8 or 9 points a game. So it's not like they're a completely different team. I think they're playing better because they won the ACC championship. But I did not think it was that bad a bracket. You could have gotten a lot worse. You were 6th seed and you're playing on the road. But again, I think it'll be fun for them. Cameron Indoor. If you remember, John, that was where Baylor played their first NCAA tournament game. Right. 25 years ago. They played against Arkansas. Is that right? Yeah. They played against Arkansas in the first round there in Coach Mulkey's first year and lost that game at Cameron Indoor. But I remember that trip. That was a cool trip to go on. And I don't know, this doesn't even matter, but the thing I remember about that trip was going into the Duke bookstore and asking if they had Duke baseball shirts. The guy was like, "We have baseball?" Really? That's funny. Yeah. That I actually did that game because Rick May and Lori were doing the games at that time. Rick had a wedding that weekend. His daughter got married that weekend, and she had asked way ahead of time, do you think we're safe, in March, whatever, middle of March to schedule the wedding? And Rick says, oh, yeah. Our season will be over. Baylor had never made the NCAA tournament before.
Right.
And sure enough, they make the first one, and he can't do the game because it's his daughter's wedding.
His first, that would have been his first NCAA tournament.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So I felt bad, but it was fun to be there and to broadcast. You're up in the crow's nest. I mean, you're literally up in a crow's nest looking down on the floor. Lori and Derek were talking about that trip. Lori was telling Derek about the vantage point there. So that'll be fun for the women. Good luck to them against either Richmond or Nebraska on Friday. Men headed to Las Vegas for the college basketball crown. What are your thoughts about the crown?
John, I think at this point, and I hope like the whole team gets to play, but I think at this point you want to play, you want to keep playing. That's the thing. Yeah. And I think Coach Drew made the point of saying this is almost like, the first step for next year. But he also made the point of, hey, we're playing for a championship. So I think that's the right attitude. And that's what a lot of these type tournaments come down to is what's your attitude going in? Are you happy to be there? Or, are you excited about playing for a championship, that kind of thing? So I think if you have the right attitude, and certainly this is a good Baylor team. I think back to some of the games that they played, and I felt like they were playing really well towards the end of the season. So I think getting another chance to play and playing in Vegas again, they played there earlier this year. So, I think it's great, John. I don't know about you, but and now you have to sit around and wait. Right. That's the only thing I worry about.
That's the strange part, right?
But everybody else does too that's in that tournament.
And it's Baylor in Minnesota in the opening game on April 1st in Las Vegas. Coach Drew's going for the Triple Crown. You realize that?
I saw that.
So there's 3 coaches who have coached schools to wins in the NCAA tournament and the NIT. That's a good trivia question. Coach Drew is one of those. No coach has ever coached his team to a national championship, NIT championship, and a crown championship. So going for the Triple Crown.
Triple Crown. I love it.
Triple Crown.
We'll just go with that. The Triple Crown.
You need to go with us to Las Vegas.
Okay. I'll get on board.
It seems like we've been there a lot lately, but kind of know the lay of the land there in Las Vegas. All right. What else coming up this weekend? Track and field, or get your thoughts on track and field wrapping up the indoor season. Yeah. And really All-America honors for all 3 that advanced to the national indoors.
Yeah. I think, John, in a sense, it was disappointing that you only took 3. I think last year it was like maybe 9 entries, but you made the most of the 3 that were there, with DeMario Prince and Tariah Kelly, both winning bronze medals in the 60-meter hurdles and 200 meters respectively. And then Molly Haywood placing 4th in the pole vault. So, 3 entries, 3 All-Americans, and the women actually finished top 25 with the 11 points that the 2 girls scored. So overall, a really great way to cap off the indoor season and go straight into outdoors this weekend in Fort Worth at the TCU Alumni. And I think this is right, John, because he was telling me, I guess it was when I talked to him on Saturday, Coach Ford, he actually left Tuesday to go to Poland.
Oh, really?
He's there for the World Indoor Championship with Trayvon Bromell is there. And I believe Casey Lightfoot is there. Wow. And I think DeMar Francis is there as well, representing Jamaica. So it's a cool thing. So I'm guessing he's missing the first weekend of the outdoor season because he'll be at the World Indoor Championships.
How about that? That is great for him to follow those guys that certainly did great here at Baylor. Yeah. All right. What else? Anything else we need to touch on?
Men's golf just wrapped up yesterday, 8th place in their tournament, the Michael A. Marino Classic, Jonas Appel and Sam Dossie, another Dossie. I think this is the last of them.
Come on.
Both of them were right at top 20. I think they tied for 26th. So the men had a good tournament, not a great tournament. And I think I had this right. They had 8 rounds of subpar or better, or par or better. So a good tournament, just as Coach Murphy said, they were missing like 1 score like they had their scoring, the score that they had to count was too high. So if it had just been a little better, and I was even thinking going into that final round, if they had finished 4 under, they finished 5 over, but if they had finished 4 under, they would have finished 3rd in that tournament. So that's how close they were to having a really good tournament. And they go to, I believe it's Carrollton for a University of North Texas hosted tournament starting Monday in Carrollton. So at the Merido.
Your alma mater. You should be the official starter for that.
Yes. Yeah, I should be. I'll hit first off the number 1 tee just to get the tournament started.
No, we don't need that. But no, just be the official starter.
We don't need that.
All right. All right, man. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. All right.
Thank you, John. Appreciate
Jerry Hill, Baylor Insider. Always great to visit with him, get his thoughts, insight, and perspective